Hi, I'm Martin Jarvis, and once again I want to welcome you to another perspective. To live a spiritual life. To live a happy and content life, embracing spirituality. It's not complicated. I think we've overcomplicated it. I think our religions have overcomplicated it. I think even as we're looking at the Bible and look at the life of Jesus, as he walked around, they had the religions. But he was a simple man. He was he had a simple life. And he had a simple message. That message will be found in the book of Luke, the 10th chapter. The message was, he was approached by a man. I believe the man was an attorney, a lawyer, an educated man, and asked Jesus, this simple-looking man, this rabbi, this teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life? Which is sort of a very, common question that we all have today. We might word it a little different. How can I go to heaven? Or how can I not go to hell? How can I be well, with God or Allah or Yahweh or the divine, however we want to put it. But this man wanted to know how he could inherit eternal life. And Jesus' response was simply, love God with all of your heart. And love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's it. He said if you could do these two things, love God and love your neighbor, you'll be well. You'll inherit eternal life. That's it. So if this is what Jesus said, why have we made it so complicated? Why do we have the things that you need to confess your sins, you need to accept Jesus Christ your Lord and personal Savior, you can't smoke, you can't cuss, you have to go to church on Sundays or Saturdays, you can't eat this, you must eat that. All these rules and regulations that we have. And even with our Bible, is like all these commandments and then these precepts. They had like 600 plus precepts, sort of laws, but not really commandments that you had to fulfill. But Jesus said, that I'm giving you two commandments. He said, what are the greatest of the commandments? Two, to love God with all of your heart. And to love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's it. And so that's where I'm coming to you from today. With that simple truth. It's not that complicated to live a satisfying spiritual life. I've eliminated hell from the equation. I know coming up in the church, it was always that hell, fire, and brimstone message that got you running to the altar, but it never kept you. Why is that? Because fear is not the glue that keeps you connected to the Father. It's love. Jesus said. He didn't say, fear God with all of your heart. He said, love God with all of your heart. Yet the preacher, the popular preacher believes he could scare you into embracing God. That's not what Jesus said. And so I want to submit to you today that we've gotten the gospel message wrong. The gospel, the good news. The good news isn't you're going to hell unless you do what I tell you to do. That ain't good news. The good news is to someone who is suffering. The good news is to someone who is not happy, who not fulfilled, not satisfied, and even trying to satisfy themselves in so many ways. Let me give you some good news. You are well with God. God loves you, just as you are. Now be well. That's the gospel message. That's the good news. It's not difficult. It's not. What was difficult has been accomplished. You are well already. Now, let's just be well. That's it. Now I know this brings a lot of consternation and condemnation from folks of various religions. And especially the Christians. Well, what do you mean you're already well? You haven't confessed. You haven't repented. You haven't You know what repent means? All repent means is simply to change one's mind. And when I share with you the good news, the gospel message that you are well, I in effect have changed your mind. It's not about what you can do. It's not about what you must do. It's about what's been done for you, or you are already well in the eyes of God. Don't be so hard on yourself. You know, other than religious folks, you know who's the most hard on people? People. I mean, not other people to other folks, but each of us, we are so hard on ourselves sometimes. Now you can't tell it. You can't tell it because we do walk around with this air of pride, with this air of wellness, of this mask that we portray for all the world to see. But the reality is the most hard on us are ourselves. And we wear these masks so folks can't see, but we struggle. And then the harder we are on other folks, the harder we are on ourselves, even in a subconscious way, we're not well. But the good news is you're well, I'm well, they're all well, we're well. That's the bottom line. That's the good news. That's the gospel message. So I was just sharing this gospel message today with someone. They said, well, does that mean anybody can just do whatever they want to do if they're not going to hell? Hell isn't the reason to be saved, okay? Hell isn't the motivator to keep from going to hell. And going to heaven isn't either. God is. Now when I say God again, we have to recognize that the holy books that we have pale to the definition, to the description of what God, the divine, the creator actually is. This is the best we can do. So the issue that we have that is to me the catalyst to our confusion, to our negativity, to our depression, is that we have taken our holy books and wrapped them in such a way and defined them as God, as the divine. And so that it's like you have to accept everything in that book or you're rejecting God. And you can't reject everything in that book because it just doesn't jive like that. Why doesn't it jive like that? Because that book, they're the writings of men, a compilation of writings of a myriad of men over a long period of time, all put together and contained in this book called the canon of scriptures called the Bible. And we have turned this into God. So if some of it doesn't make sense, like if we turn to the book of Corinthians and that we learn that women are to remain silent in the church. And then we turn to the book of Galatians and we're given to understand that there is no difference between men and women. There is a confusion there. But this is God. This is the Word of God. And then we go about trying to defend the confusion. To try to make it make sense because it challenges us too much to determine that these are simply the words written by men inspired of God. It's not God. So some things just don't make sense, don't have to be embraced as God in that book. Because they just don't make sense. And so I'm not saying that to give someone a free pass to simply live however you want and then omit everything that doesn't line up to how you've chosen to live. I mean, that's not going to work. That's probably how we got all these different writings and all these different religions, from that type mindset. The key is to be critical with ourselves, not critical as far as we are lost and we're trying to live up and we can't live up. No, recognize that you are well with God, but now attempt to perfect yourself, attempt to make yourself well. Let me give you a natural analogy, okay? Some of you know I've been trying to exercise, trying to work out. I'm going to be 64 this year, so I'm trying to exercise and eat right. I've been exercising and doing like this 40-minute martial art cardio for about 13 years now. I've been trying to eat right most of the time. And as well, I do like 50 push-ups a day. I do sit-ups as well, and I take vitamins, okay, to do the best I can. Now I am existing. I am physically well with God, but I am trying to improve the condition of my health, my body, to ensure that I don't come down with sicknesses that could have been avoided, that I don't have to die any earlier than I should have, that particular aspects of me don't fall apart premature earlier than they should, you see? So I am well with God, but I'm not just satisfied just letting myself go. I'm trying to make myself better, okay? And what I'm suggesting is then from a spiritual perspective, from a relational perspective with God, I am well with God, but I am striving to make myself a better person, okay? So I'm trying not to ingest weed because I'm taking smoke into my lungs, or I'm confusing my mind, you know, I'm affecting this very intricate device that I have within me, which is my brain. And same with the alcohol, I'm not taking poison in, and well, just a minimum amount so I don't get too poisoned. I'm not trying to just eat any kind of food any time of the day, any time of night. I'm not trying to be lethargic and not exercise. I'm trying to be well. This is spiritual, is the same way. Spirituality and the natural, it's really all one and the same. We are spiritual beings that have a revelation of who we actually are related to the Creator. And we have this epiphany now that we have at our charge our bodies, and that we have the ability to take care of our bodies, to take care of ourselves, and to do the right thing. Okay, so again, I've been told, well, you know, well, if I'm not worried about going to hell, why do I have to do anything good? Why can't I just live and be bad? Well, because we do reap what we sow, okay? And be not deceived, God is not mocked. Whatsoever man sow, that shall he also reap. What goes around comes around. Karma, however we want to look at it, we do reap on this planet. A direct result of the things that we do. If I don't take care of my body, if I don't eat right, if I don't exercise, there's going to be a direct response to my health. It's going to be negative. If I take care of my body, if I take my vitamins, if I exercise, there's going to be a direct response to my health. It's going to be better. So we are well with God. We just need to make ourselves well. And you know, there's perfect peace in that. There's perfect peace in that. Let me share with you, and let me keep tying it to the physical, okay, to this little exercise thing I'm doing. Now again, I've been doing this 40-minute martial art cardio for about 13 years now. But as far as the push-ups, I've been doing the push-ups for about a year now. And when I started, you know, when I was younger, I could do push-ups. I was in the military. We did a lot of push-ups, but I was like in my 60s, you know, with these push-ups. I was about 62. I decided I want to start doing push-ups, so I got down. And you know, I can kick out 30 if I want to, but by the time I hit that 30, it was going to be looking kind of raggedy. But what I could do at that time last year was around Thanksgiving, last Thanksgiving, you know, in 2021. That I just did 10 push-ups because I wanted to do them right. And then I decided I was going to do 10 push-ups for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, I was going to add 5 more. So then I would do 15 push-ups for the next 2 weeks. And at the end of that 2 weeks, add 5 more. And I got up to about 65 or so, you know, doing that every 2 weeks. And then my side started hurting. I'm like, wait a minute. So I dropped it down to 50. And so I've just been doing 50 push-ups every day now. So I didn't have to worry about drastically changing my life. I mean this for the long haul. I'm going to be here around a while. There was no rush. So incrementally, I made adjustments to my physical being. And incrementally, I became stronger and stronger, okay? Doing that with the sit-ups. And now imagine that analogy then with that 40-minute martial art cardio that I've been doing for 13 years now. Or right around 13 years. That I'm in better condition physically than when I started. So then consider that first day I did that cardio. I mean, you really couldn't tell. I couldn't tell. And the second day, and the third day, I mean, there was no visible reality that I was doing anything, any kind of improvement to my life, but I was. And then a month goes by, then 2 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 13 years. As many days a week as I can. I'm in much better condition now physically because of that 40-minute cardio, having done it for years. I didn't have to change immediately. I didn't have to adjust and abruptly change my life, my lifestyle. No, I just recognized, incrementally changed when I could. And this is the result today. The push-ups the same, the sit-ups the same. What I'm saying is, from a spiritual and a life perspective for a spiritual person, this is the way it is. Just get better. You're already well with God, so you don't have that pressure. Just find ways to make yourself better. And that's what God desires. We call God the Father, the Heavenly Father. Consider even a father. What does a father want to see in the life of the children? The father doesn't expect this infant or the 1-year-old or the 5-year-old to just be a functioning, mature individual. But that parent wants to see a gradual and incremental maturation and growth of that child. And that is simply the reality of the Father. So a lot of times, that's why the gospel message, it is called the good news. You don't have to hurry it up. You don't have to speed it up. You don't have to be so hard on yourself. Oh, I tried this and I failed, and then go through all kinds of negativity. No, you're well. So even when you fail, you're well. Man, when I pray in the morning, it's like, I got the old-fashioned, ask forgiveness for my prayers. But it's like, I already know I'm forgiven, but I just want you to know that I'm aware. So I am just formally asking for forgiveness, although I know I'm already forgiven. So I keep that in my mind. It helps me to strive, to not be satisfied, to recognize that I still have a way to go to perfection. It's like my workout, man. I might have a day where I wake up and I got up late and I can't do my cardio or something else I have to take care of or whatever. So I'll miss a cardio that day. I'm not hard on myself. Man, if I'm doing cardio most of the time and miss a cardio, it's sort of like vitamins. If you're taking your multivitamins every day, and you miss a day, it's not going to hurt you. Not hard on yourself. Man, I forgot to take my vitamins and I'm just mad at myself and I'll never get it right. Man, I just can't. I've forgotten. And be all that negativity. No, this is the good news. This is the gospel message. You are well. Let's try to be well. With the old song by Donnie McClurkin, when you fall, just get up. It's not that big a deal. Sometimes, and that is to the chagrin of many religious folks, such as many Christians, is that I am not hard on myself. But I'm not hard on you either. Okay? Because I see this. This is what, let me tell you what. One of my frustrations, I've been a minister now for probably almost 30 years, okay? And I've been a staff pastor in a local church for about 25 or so years. And one of my frustrations is when I see folks that are not improving, that are struggling with the same struggles, okay? And I wonder why. And even on this program, on cable, and I put on Facebook and YouTube, I put little motivational videos out there. Motivational videos to help you be well, like this one, spiritually, to help you be well physically, educationally, relationally, in all aspects of life. Yet folks really don't hardly buy into it. Like I'll take the time out to really put something together to help motivate an individual to exercise and make it easy, or a particular diet, and help you see how easy it is to pick out foods that you already like and to be well. And then I'll post it on Facebook, and I might get about 5 or 8 likes. I have some regular good folks, But then I'll put something with my daughter's dog running in the yard, and it'll get like 50 likes, 50 thumbs up, And I'm saying, what's up with that, man? Because I know these people. I know many of them are out of shape. I know many of them, their health is not right. There's diabetes potential. There's high blood pressure, heart issues, cholesterol issues, all kinds of stuff going on. Educational issues, not in good jobs or whatever. So I'm sharing how I earned my MBA. I started when I was 50. You know, and how easy it is and what you can do. But people aren't grasping it. I've been wondering, why is that? Why is it we don't embrace the stuff that's good for our health, that will prolong our lives, that will be good examples for our children? But if I see a dog or a cat video, I'm going to like it, you know. Because the dog and the cat videos, they're not challenging to me. You see? See what we have? Nobody wants to be sick. I don't believe. I believe there probably is some kind of mental psychosis thing going on where there are people that want to be sick, maybe for the sympathy, for the attention it gets, you know, from folks, you know, within the purview of relationships and all. But for the most part, people want to be well. But it seems that folks sometimes acquiesce to the situation of their lives, the sub-wellness situation of their lives. They acquiesce to it. Oh, well. And what I'm believing is that these individuals have determined it's a safer place to be. Because there's no chance of failure if you don't try. And it's not a desire to be sick. But it's a fear of failure. And it's a more comfortable place to be to having not tried rather than to have failed, okay? And so what I'm suggesting is it's sort of like the good news, the gospel message is that wellness in life, whether it's spiritual, whether it's natural, whether it's educational, whether it's relational, wellness in life is not complicated. This is the good news. We have to find a way to shake off that acquiescence, to recognize that I don't have to worry about failure. You know how you don't worry about failure? And make accomplishments? Don't fail. Just find ways to ensure that you're not going to fail. Like I just shared with you how I did my push-ups. You know, I decided that, so I did 10 push-ups. I think everybody can do 10. If you can't do 10, do 5. If you can't do 5, do 2. And however many push-ups you can do, just do those for 2 weeks. Now check this out. So I was able to do 10 push-ups, 10 good push-ups. And so I did them for 2 weeks. But guess what? About the first week, I decided, man, I could do the other 5 now, but I didn't. I held off. No, I'm just going to do 10. There's no rush. Even though I feel I can do 15, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to do 10. Then after the second week, I increased it by 5. Then increased it by another 5 in 2 weeks. Finally got to where I'm doing 50 push-ups a week. I would have never thought I'd be able to just drop down and do 50 push-ups in the course of less than a minute. But I can, because I took my time. I ensured that I wasn't going to fail. If I tried to do 30 push-ups the first day and 30 the next day and 30 the next day, by about the 5th day, I probably would have stopped doing them. It would have been too much. It would have been too much. But so the way that you ensure that you don't fail, you take small steps, take baby steps. You take the baby steps and you're not going to get discouraged, and you incrementally increase. You know what I think I got this idea from? I think 2 things. One thing, as a mailman, I was a walking mailman in the inner city for like 27 years. And my route, it was like you start in the morning, you end in the evening. And my route had 400 stops on it. Now that seems unbelievable, unbearable, unfathomable. But it works. Come on, mailmen been doing this for years. And so the key is you just start, and you don't just go out there and just, well, I have to deliver all this mail, so I hit here, go here, go here, go here. No, there's a place that you start, and then you go to the next place, and the next place, and the next place. And as you keep following the particular predetermined sequence, by the end of the day, you end up at that last place of delivery. You don't have to rush it. You don't have to get all jumbled and nervous and wondering if I'm going to hit every house. You just take those little baby steps, house by house, in sequence, be consistent, and you're going to end up where you're supposed to end up. I think another way I learned this was like when I was going to college. I decided after all the years of having a high school diploma that I was going to go to college, go just to get an associate degree. I ended up with an MBA, but in my mind I was just going to get an associate degree at Sinclair College. And so one of the things that had kept me, I graduated from high school in 1976. That's when I joined the military. So I mean, it's been a while, okay? And I struggled in math. I mean, I made it up through like algebra. I was kind of okay in algebra, but anything past that, it was trouble. I think it was trouble because I had been a military kid, and I had traveled around, we had moved around, and I had missed, in math, everything you learn is a basic principle that you're going to need for the next step. And there were certain times we would move somewhere, school had already started, I'd missed a certain steps in math, and oh well, I just never really caught up, And back then parents didn't care. You just go to school, do your homework. We follow our daughter's homework, day by day. But back then parents weren't all that into it. So I struggled in math. And that was really one of the primary reasons I didn't do the college thing, because I knew I was going to have to affect that in math. But I decided that I was going to go to college. It was after Obama became president. I was like, this young brother, younger than me, and looked like me, had a Harvard education, I had a high school diploma, I'm going to get my associate degree. So I signed up, and man, one of the classes, out of all that line, you see the counselor and they give you all these classes you're going to have to take to get your degree. One of them was college algebra. I'm like, man, here we go. So I just ignored it. You know how we do. And I just took every other class in that long list of classes they gave me. It seemed so far away, but lo and behold, eventually, guess what? That day of reckoning came, man. I only had one class to take in order for me to graduate with my associate degree, and it was college algebra. Really, I was about to quit. I was about to give up. Well, this is a great run. That was fun. It's just one class. I can just tell everybody I'm just one class away from my associate degree. I had already rehearsed that line, man. But it was like, man, no, I got to do this. Because my kid was watching. My daughter was like 3 when I started school, so it was like she's watching me. How can I quit? College algebra, what am I going to do? I knew I couldn't pass college algebra at that point because I struggled anyway. I kind of knew a little bit of algebra from high school, but that was like in the 70s. So I decided what I was going to do was Sinclair College had these like remedial courses, okay? It was courses that you could brush up on whatever math you needed. What they have is they have a test, a placement test that you take, and it would have all these different kinds of math on there. And after you took that test, they would let you know where you placed, where you needed to start, your math studies in the remedial courses. Well, guess what? I was kind of embarrassed. I was kind of too embarrassed to take that test because I didn't want to face whatever the results were. So I just decided that I was just going to take the very first remedial class and just take every single one all the way up to algebra. And that's what I did. I signed up and I went to the first. And now you're paying for these classes like you would a normal class, but you're not getting any college credit for them because they're just remedial classes. But I didn't have anything it was no big deal. And back in those days, I don't know what school costs now at Sinclair, but back then it was like, a class was like $99. It was about $33 or so a credit hour or something like that. Plus you had to buy your book. Shoot, and they had a little. They worked it out where it could come out of your check, incrementally. So it was efficient, economic wise. And so I took these classes, and there was a bunch of them. And to start off, man, the first class was adding, and they started with 1 + 1, 2 + 2, 3 + 3, for real. So that first class I showed up in, man, I was a mailman at the time. I showed up in my mailman. I had to pass a pretty tough exam just to be a mailman, So now I'm in here with these people, and they were really struggling with what does 2 + 2 equal. I was at a table with people that were struggling with 2 + 2 and 3 + 3. And I'm sitting here thinking, man, I'm not coming back to this class. So I left that class. I'm like, I'm not coming back in here. This is ridiculous. And I thought to myself, no, I don't know where in the string of math courses that I lost it, that there was the gap in my understanding that caused me to be where I am, in life, struggling in math, where I missed it, And so I decided that I was going to take this first remedial class and just take them all the way up. Because this was going to be the last time I was going to try something like this. So I might as well just get in there and even repeat the stuff I already knew, because if I took every single class, every different type of math, all the way up to algebra, eventually I'd come to that point where I missed it because I had no clue. And that's what I did. I took every single remedial math class all the way up to elementary algebra, advanced algebra, and then I was ready to take my college algebra. I didn't have to take a placement test because I had on their records that I had taken every remedial course all the way up to advanced algebra. I took college algebra and I passed it. And then I went on to get my bachelor's degree, and then I went on after that to get my MBA, okay? That's my story. But the point is, that math, the lesson I learned there was very, very important. I mean, it took me over a year. It took me about a year and a half, but I was in no hurry. I was in absolutely zero hurry. I wasn't trying to get a job. I have a great job, making good money, live in a nice neighborhood, have cars. You know, my life was fine. I just wanted this education, and this something I hadn't had in my entire life, something that I wanted to do. I was in no hurry at all. I wanted to accomplish this. And I accomplished it step by step. And so I'm just suggesting that the good news, this gospel message in life, is by that concept that I use in school, by the concept I use as a mailman, this concept that I'm using as my cardio, as my push-ups, as my sit-ups, as everything in life, man. You know what it takes? Another word is called consistency. You find out what works, and you just continually repeat. And you know what? This is really the key to success in everything in life. Man, my daughter plays lacrosse. You know, I was sharing with her, yeah, I was a martial artist. And maybe, you know, it's also a martial artist thing as well. Because every day we'd go to class 3, 4, 5 times a week. And when you go to class, man, you'd throw 100 of this kick, 100 of these punches. You just repeat. That's all karate class was back in them days. The martial art was just, you have a particular basic punch or a kick, and you just do it over and over and over and over and over again. A whole class, there was nothing cooler than that, man. Really cool. Repetition. So she's playing lacrosse. Oh, honey, you know, I don't know anything about lacrosse. You know, my daughter, she was in the martial art from kindergarten to 2nd grade. And then she decided she wanted to run track. And then she played basketball. Then she played soccer. Then she played basketball again. I think then soccer. Finally she came across lacrosse. She's been playing for like 5 years. I think she picked a sport she knew I didn't know anything about, you know. But all it took me was a couple times to watch them play. I got the answer, man. Repetition. You take 3 girls, line them up, one at the net, one here, one there, and just teach them to throw and catch. You can just whoosh, whoosh, right in the goal. And the other repetition, the goal, just 100 a day. Just take that stick and throw that ball in there 100 a day. I'd work out with my daughter in lacrosse. We used to work out in martial art, worked out lacrosse. Now, to be clear, to be honest, I can't catch a lacrosse ball with one of those sticks. So when I'm working out with my daughter, I have a baseball glove on. But it's repetition. I know I may have digressed, but what I want you to see here, this is the spirituality thing. You are already well in the eyes of God. You got nothing to prove. You got all the time in the world, but just recognize and take the time to improve yourself. That concept of sowing and reaping, that concept of be not deceived, God is not mocked, whatsoever a person sows, that will they reap. Well, it's just not about bad stuff, it's about good stuff. So as you begin to practice in consistency in doing something that's good and healthy, whether it's cardio, whether it's push-ups, whether it's eating right, whether it's treating folks right, whether it's just being a good person, making good decisions, going to school, you know, whatever it is in life, at work, show up for work every day, on time, do a good job. Don't abuse sick leave. You know, stop drinking, stop smoking weed, get yourself healthy, get yourself well, your mind well. Just begin working on yourself every aspect of life, man. You're going to reap the benefits. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatever you sow, you're going to reap. Don't focus it on the negative. You're going to reap what you sow. No, look at the positive. You're going to reap what you sow if you do good. For real now. All it takes is consistency, something good, and you're getting better and better and better. Man, I'm getting better. I'm feeling good. I mean, I know I'm going to be 64. I keep saying that. I recognize what that age means. But I also recognize how good I feel and how I've improved my health. And I know, everybody's going to die one day. Everybody. But the reality is that you can prolong your life. And you can make the quality of your life better than it would be. It's not just that you're living a long time. You can be feeling good in the process. Just taking care of myself. So I try to take care of myself physically. Take care of everything that God has given me control or reign over. I feel it's my responsibility to do a good job to take care of it. It's like I'm a steward. You know the story of the steward, where he's been given something by the master to take care of. Well, what have we been given? What's the most important thing, the most valuable thing that we've been given to have charge over? It's our lives. And so we're given to understand we're already well with the master, we're already well with God, we're already well with the divine, the creator, whatever you want to call it, God, Allah, Yahweh, Krishna, whatever. So what are we doing with what we've been given? Are you taking care of yourself? You don't have to. But we want to, because we want to improve. So we can live this spiritual relationship and simply immerse ourselves in the spirituality of it all, enjoy that God is God, and in the meantime take care of ourselves and improve ourselves. So what does it do then to have this spiritual relationship with God? How does that work? Man, there is so much peace in that for me, especially after having been an atheist for all those years, is that I don't have to worry about stuff. I mean, I don't have to worry about stuff. I still kind of do sometimes, but I don't have to worry about stuff because my trust is in God. And so if there's something that I want to accomplish, and I'm standing before 2 or 3 roads, and I don't know which one, I take one, and then it just shuts down. I don't get depressed. I'm like, great that it's one of these 2 roads. I go one of those 2 roads, and it shuts down. Great, it must be this road. Go down this road, it shuts down. Must be another. Whatever happens, I don't get bent out of shape. Because God is God. That is my spirituality. I trust God. So I trust God that I am well with God. And I trust God that God has got my best interest and that whatever happens, I'm well. I mean, I've heard people say they get mad at God. God is God. And maybe it's because of my unique experience that I spent as an atheist for those 10 years. But if God is God for real, then God is God. Whatever happens, happens. I prefer it this way and I desire it this way. And most of the things that we desire, that we would like in our lives, have to do with us putting our hands to it to bring it to fruition. So think about it. Think about most of the things in your life that have happened that may have not been great. Did you have something to do with that? Probably. I mean, if our financial situation's messed up, can you see where you might have blown or wasted money on things? Come on, if you drink or if you smoke weed, you're spending money on stuff that has no real value, and then you didn't get your bill paid. I mean, or you were in a marriage and you really didn't put yourself into it, or you had kids out of wedlock and you really weren't there for them. I mean, or we were living lives, wild lives, and not really taking care of our bodies, and now we're sick. Come on. I mean, most of the ills that we have in our lives, we lost our job, we weren't picked, we were laid off or whatever. Even the type of jobs that we're working today because we didn't go to school enough or apply ourselves and all that, man. It's like most of the stuff that goes awry in our lives has to do with decisions that we have made. Man, I was, after I got out of the military, I went to work for NCR Corporation. I got there in 1981, and in 1994 is when AT&T, many of us lost our jobs, or our jobs were being challenged, okay? And so all these jobs were cut. So I've been with the company for like 13 years. And all these jobs have been cut, and so everybody was fighting for these few jobs that they had left. It was like an NFL draft type thing, I just took a buyout. As well, they gave me an extra $5,000 if I signed this document saying that I would never sue them in the future. Plus, years later, they sent me like 30 grand that I had built up in a retirement fund. But I was fine. And a lot of people, when they get laid off, when their job is dissolved or whatever happens, they get upset. They get irritated. They even get irritated with God if they're believers. But for me, it was like, this is a business. And if they felt, in what they were doing, it would be better for their business to cut all these jobs, who am I to get mad about that? Man, at the time, I mean, it was a job that was a degreed position. because this old guy had hired me, and he knew I was a veteran, and he thought I could do the job. But he had died, and then when that job had dissolved, I really wasn't qualified to do the same job there or anywhere else, because they needed that paper. So I couldn't be mad at the company. I couldn't be mad at these other jobs for not hiring me, these other companies. Because the reality was, I could have gotten a degree back then. I could have in the military, I had started college and then quit. Even when I was at NCR, they were willing to pay for my education. I had started school and then I had quit. So the situation that I was left in without a job when NCR had shut down, I couldn't be mad at anyone because the situation I was in was directly related to my negligence. I should have pursued an education, okay? And so I was out. I didn't worry about it because by that time I had had my epiphany of God. And God is God. I wasn't even worried. Now, although I wasn't worried, I was still putting out applications. Every day I would get up and I would go out and try to find a job. That was my new job, was trying to find a job every day. I'd still get up every day and shave, put on a tie. But I couldn't find a job. I would put in applications, I would put in resumes. Nothing happened. But still, I was trusting God. And what's interesting is when you trust God. Now this is the difficult part. Because when you're truly trusting God, you don't have to be rehearsing the fact that you trust God. You just simply do, and there's a peace. You're not just concerned about these types. You're still doing what you need to do, but there isn't that lack of peace, okay? And this is what's very interesting. Now while I was at NCR, sometimes you get frustrated wherever you work, and one particular day my brother called me up. And he said, the post office, they're giving a test. You're allowing people to take the test, downtown. And it was only like maybe about a mile away from where I was working, where NCR was. It was right down on 5th Street. And they're taking this test around noon or something, lunchtime or something. So I ran down there. It was almost for a joke, I just ran down there and I took this test just to be taking it. And that was that. Forgot about it. Went back to work and never thought again about that test. Okay, and then, go up in, back into the future. So then I left NCR. I took that buyout, looking for a job, and I could, I wasn't getting one, but I still wasn't worried. I even took some of that buyout money and took some kids on a couple of kids on a youth conference, a national youth conference in D.C. with the woman who would one day be my wife. She wasn't my wife then. She was the female chaperone. I was the male chaperone. Using some of that buyout money. So 5 months into this, 5 months after I left NCR, getting there, man, I was running out of money. But right about that time, that 5-month period, I get this notice in the mail. I get a letter in the mail from the post office. I'm like, what's the post office sending me a letter for? I almost threw it away. So I decided to read it. They were calling me in for an interview. They were calling me in for an interview based on that test that I had taken a year earlier while I was at NCR and had forgotten about. I hadn't even thought about the post office, but I was trusting God, just trusting God. I wasn't worried. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't mad at God. I wasn't mad at NCR. I wasn't anything. I was just going about my life, going about my business, doing the best that I could, but not worrying. I get this letter from the post office 5 months after I left NCR, just before my money had run out. Come in for an interview. Went to work for the post office. Man, I made more money at the post office than with NCR. I lost 30 pounds. My twitch went away. I mean, come on. I went from a 3-piece suit, hat with a feather in it, briefcase, and a trench coat to a mailman suit. And you know, it is the best thing that ever happened to me. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't trying to get it, but I was in peace. because I was well with God. I was striving to perfect myself, still trying to get jobs here and there, trusting God, and a way was made. That's the key right there. That is the key, is be consistent, be diligent. So I believe now, in a spiritual sense, although I didn't get the jobs that I was vying for, man, I must have sent out maybe 50 resumes everywhere, Riddles and Reynolds and Standard Register and all these different, I was sending out those resumes, but I was still sowing. Because the thing that we miss, I think, sometimes, even in the sowing and reaping, is what we reap may not even be visibly related to the thing that we're sowing, okay? Whether it's negative or positive. It's just the fact that you are sowing your actions, your intentions spiritually, and you are receiving a recompense in a physical way often, but spiritually originated. So I guess the point is I was still continuing to try to improve myself, and I reaped the reward, I reaped the benefit. And now personally, I believe if I hadn't done anything, if I had just been laying around, doing nothing, smoking weed off that buyout money, eventually the money would have run out and I wouldn't have had a job, and I'd probably be at Walmart greeting folks at the door now. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, and I've been with the post office now for about 28 years. Who'd ever thought? Amazing. So I'm just giving you an encouragement now that to be spiritually well is simply trusting that God is God, that you're covered, that you're already well. You don't have to go through any ritual, rigmarole, do this, do that, do that. Jesus said, love God, love your neighbor, do right to people, be ethical, be moral. And even if you fall, just get back up because you're already well with God. Trust God. And you will reap the benefit. And you will live a life of spiritual peace. People will look at you. People will look at you and wonder why you're so well, why everything seems to be working out in your life. Now, they don't know the details, like everything wasn't always working out, but you were just at peace with God, at spiritual peace, recognizing that you are well with God, doing your best. God's got you covered. And all folks see are the results, are the fruits, the wellness that you are walking in, and you're experiencing it as well. Because think about this, man. If you have that right spiritual mindset, throughout the process you have peace. Throughout the process you have peace. Think about that. Man, you can't beat that. That's the good news. That's the gospel message. You're already well. Don't fret. Okay? Well, anyway, I know I've given you a lot to chew on. I do want to thank you for joining me for another perspective. And I want to leave you this one tidbit, just so you know. And I think you do know. And no matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what you've done or what you're doing right now, that God truly, truly loves you. He really does. And so do I.